For all of you who listen to Submersion and own an Android device, go to the Google Play Store and download the Podcast Republic app. It's a fantastic app that allows you to get all of your favorite podcasts directly on your Android device. I personally use the app and I love it. I can search for the podcast I want to listen to, select it as a favorite, and have it just a click away. Make sure to select Submersion as a favorite so you don't miss any of our new episodes. Again, the app is the Podcast Republic app, available on Android devices. Episode 81.
Woo!
Wait, was that the start of it?
That's the start, man.
That was it.
Wow! Holy shit! I guess
Jimmy,
I missed
you got to
it.
get a woo. You got to keep the woos going. Go.
Woo! Yeah, got to woo.
All right.
Woo!
Hey, whoa.
Oh, sorry. Am I blasting
Come on,
it?
we're trying to be a little subdued tonight.
Sorry.
You know,
Okay.
but
A little sexy,
Subdued.
dude.
We got a more somber film where people have to learn some life lessons.
That's
and
true.
Many lives are lost.
A lot of learning, a lot of loving.
We
Lot
are
of living.
wrapping up Brahms Movie Month, and tonight's movie caught my eye when we first started kind of looking up various submarine movies before we realized that there's like 200 of them out there. And this was one that kind of floated to the top for me because I noticed it's got everybody's boy, Ronald Reagan, in it.
Ronnie R. Love him. He's a listener, actually. Love you, Ron.
Love you, Ron.
grave.
Pretty sure he died. But Nancy might be a listener.
Agree to disagree.
And Nancy, too, was in this film. So this was really interesting to me. I never had seen a film starring Ronald Reagan. Everyone obviously knows he was a pretty highly regarded president. What was that? The late 80s he served. Mm-hmm. And
well, I mean, most of the 80s, 80 to 88.
There we go. And we watched a film that starred him. And it's a submarine film, of course. And it feels like a classic submarine film. We'll get into it here.
That was something that I was a little surprised by, and I'm happy that you brought it into your cycle, because I didn't realize how classic of a submarine film it actually was. I just assumed it was a film with submarines in it, and we'd watch it in kind of a war movie. But it's very classic. Very, very classic. And we'll get into that.
And when we name it here, we'll have to mention the IMDb score, which I think is a little low, but I think we'll get into that a little bit.
Really?
I don't think it's a stellar film, but I was pretty amazed by it, because when you get down this low, I'll go ahead and say let's just go ahead and say the name of the film here. It is Hellcats of the Navy, 1957 film. Scored a 5.4 on IMDb.
That is a little low, but not crazy low. It's not like it's getting super like whatever, people going online specifically to rate it low just because like Ronald Reagan's in it or something like that. Just a low score.
I know. I also thought it was a little surprise. Well, this is one of the movies which I know, Bram, you'd mentioned a really long time ago, and I always saw that score, and I was like, man, we're gonna have to watch this. It's probably gonna really suck it up here, but I would agree with you when I think that it's low. I don't think it's warranted to be that low, but again, Jamie, like you mentioned, not a lot of people are going out rating this movie. You think about most of the ratings that we're probably going to see from fans or whatever, they're going to be like, oh, I loved it 10. Oh, I hated it 1. Right. And so not a whole lot of middle ground.
I'm going to say
only 827 votes on this.
Oh, wow.
one.
So it is low. Yeah. People don't really say this. And I will say I'm going to be coming probably a little hot on my rating comparative to you guys. But let's save it. Don't want to spoil it or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But
hey guys, before we even get like way too far into this, I think we better, dive. What began as an innocent conversation among friends would soon spiral out of control and later be referred to by future generations as the eighth wonder of the modern world. Back East Studios takes you on the journey of your lifetime as your captains Alex the Mustard Man, the artist formerly known as Brom, Jamie the Ointment, Kyle El Capitan, and Zach the Backbone present Submersion.
So yeah, Hellcats of the Navy. So like last week's episode, this is a movie that I had not seen, but it caught my eye, and mainly because it had Ronald Reagan in it, and I really wanted to see it. Were you guys kind of in the same boat as I, that you had not seen Ronald Reagan really act before?
Never seen him before. And it's actually kind of interesting. It is interesting to see him act a little bit because he comes in a little bit almost like a John Wayne type guy.
Yeah.
So very like a kind of 1,000-yard stare and kind of a manly man, but also like supposed to be like a good-hearted guy. And yeah, very much leading man type, but almost like it seems like he was coming in as like a second tier John Wayne.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And he's definitely got, like we're talking about, the man's man here. He's got like the chiseled features. You're like, wow, this guy could probably kick most of these people's ass on set. Obviously not ours. We're all so buff and so
right,
ripped.
Sure, yeah, I got big old muscles.
Nobody could ever take any of us.
I'd have so much grease on. Like he'd punch me, but his fist would slide right off my body.
Mm-hmm. And he might throw out his shoulder doing it.
Yep. And then at that point, it's anyone's game, really.
Yeah. You're slip sliding all around Reagan. Hey, and he's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But yes, I had not seen any other films of his.
No, I've never. Yeah, it's one of those things where you almost. I know he had a film where he acted with a monkey, and I probably should go see that one.
Really?
But, oh yeah. He's got one of those ape movies out there. I think it was like Bubbles or something. I don't know. Isn't that the name? Was that Michael Jackson's ape? Now that I think about it.
Bubbles.
Yeah, I think that's right.
About right.
So I don't know which one that one. I'll have to look it up. Which one it was? The Reagan monkey movie or ape movie.
Bedtime for Bonzo.
There we go. Bonzo.
Oh yeah. Now that sounds like an instant classic.
So I should probably watch that one.
We could have monkey movie season. That Dunstan checks in. Mighty Joe Young.
King Kong. And King Kong.
Oh yeah,
but also King Kong. Make sure you get all of them.
And there's probably another King Kong.
Son of Kong.
A lot of Curious
the Congo.
George.
Congo, good one. Curious George. I think there was 2 of those, maybe.
Have we not said Planet of the Apes yet?
Planet of the Apes.
No, we haven't.
Ed. Most Vertical Primates. Most Vertical Primate 2. Most Extreme Primate. Most Extreme Primate 2. Duh. Everyone knows these ones. Come on.
Yeah, all right. So, Bram, throw out everything you did, all that work on getting all the seasons set up. Season 2 is no longer trains; it's now monkey movies.
Can it be generally?
Really?
Can we have
bumping
a
it, huh?
can we have a
No,
few
I'm
different
just kidding.
animals for one of the seasons? No, we can make it season. Is there an empty one? Season 17 or season 22?
Is there an empty one, Jamie?
Yeah.
Well, there are infinite numbers, so
Sure.
you scientists should know that.
I think
let's
somewhere in
see.
the 20s, maybe.
I think our earliest open season is season 15. Should I pencil that in?
Yep, and we can do 15 different animals.
15
For
different
season-
animals?
Versus, yeah, so like it could be an elephant, or it could be a chimpanzee, or it could
Is
be
it
a
only
gorilla.
15 episodes, or are we going animal by animal until we've completed 15 animals in every movie with that animal in it?
Big old mix, big old broglio. Is that what that's like a word? I think of just like any animal.
A menagerie?
Yeah, exactly.
That's very
turtle.
animal themed.
Is there a movie that stars a turtle? I don't know.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
There we go. See, so turtles, good. Yeah, elephants,
All right.
chimpanzee, gorilla, etc., etc., etc. We're all good.
Got
Wolves.
it.
There's a lot
All
of
right.
wolf movies. Could do that one too.
Balto. That's a dog, I guess, right?
Technically
Balto,
speaking.
yeah.
The Gray. They've
Yeah.
got wolves. All right.
Horses. Come on, guys.
Horse
You got 'em.
movies.
Dog
Now we're
movies,
talking.
cat movies. This is a cat movie, actually. Hellcats of the Navy. Back to it. See, that's a good transition, right back
There we
into
go.
it.
There you go.
Good
Perfect.
work.
Perfect.
Yeah, thanks.
Let's get into this before we get too far off the rail.
Should we actually get into the recap of this?
Get in it.
It didn't win any Oscars, right?
It
did not.
I'm joking because it obviously did not. It seemed like it was a. It actually, I think it was released as a kind of like a B picture or one where it's paired up with another movie, double feature kind of stuff. So it was kind of a second tier film. It was one of the last movies that Ronald Reagan actually did, and because after this he basically entirely went to TV. Almost specifically because of this movie, he said it was disappointing, the production level, and he felt like his career was going TV, so he went to TV.
You said it was disappointing, the production level?
Yeah, so
What does he
basically
mean by that?
this was made around the same time as I think Operation Pacific, and I think or Operation Tokyo or something.
This was a year
Destination
before
Tokyo.
Run Silent, Run Deep. Destination Tokyo was 16 years or something before this movie.
Oh, no, really? Destination Ghost? Okay. Well, there was another movie that came out kind of a similar time. And I think when he took this movie, he said he thought it was going to turn out that way. It's one of the movies that we've watched. And when he kind of got out of this production being like, oh, I think my career in film might be at an end. And so he went to TV.
Because he thought the production quality was lower than he expected?
Yeah, that kind of
Interesting.
He had felt like, oh, this is where what was reflected in how the movie was made. He felt like told him that his career was on a downswing, and that he went entirely to TV.
Yeah.
All right. Huh.
Yep.
All righty. So this film from 1957 stars, as I'm sure everybody knows, Ronald Reagan as Commander Casey Abbott, Nancy Reagan credited as Nancy Davis as Nurse Helen Blair, Arthur Franz as Lieutenant Commander Don Landon, Robert Arthur as Freddie Warren, and William Leslie as Lieutenant Paul Prentice.
Yes. And
let's start.
We open, and it's a thrilling opener, guys. It's like your eyeballs pop out of your head when you see the production and the expense that they went to have a person stand in front of the screen tell you that this is a story about World War II. And it's basically an actual commander, right? It was Commander Nimitz or something. Comes in and he's like, yo, bros, World War II, ever heard of it? And so then that jumps us right into the film. It was a very odd opening for a movie. Because it almost seems like it's the start of a documentary or something. But instead, you jump into a film that is like based on a book, based on some kind of memoirs, but is obviously very fictionalized. So weird to see like a commander be like, and this is the movie about our experiences in World War II. And it kind of tells you just how involved the Navy was in making this movie. There was a lot of cooperation by them in kind of crafting the story and stuff like that as well. So anyways, it's 1944. We're heading towards the end of World War II. You can tell because we're kind of starting the plans of trying to invade Japan. Ends up not being important because they, drop the atomic bombs, but they're trying to figure out the best way of getting through into the Straits of Japan to kind of let Japan know that the Americans are putting them in a really tough spot, and maybe that'll end the war. But one of the problems has been that they have these mines that they've stopped being able to see. That basically, the Japanese did something to the mines to make it so that the radar and the sonar, or the radar, no longer can see them, and so it's very difficult or impossible to navigate into the Strait of Japan. And Casey Abbott, he's on a mission with a submarine to capture some underwater mines. And the first thing we see is that basically they arrive, they're seeing the mines, they know that it's time to finish their mission, and they call up the frogmen, and they're like, "Yo, frogmen, we're Hellcats, you're frogmen. Get in the water and grab us a mine." And who's the main guy?
Main guy here is Wes. And one thing to remember about Wes is he is pretty sweet on Nancy Reagan.
Oh, yeah. He's got a picture and everything. He's sleeping in a bunk. He's had like a long night, apparently doing all kinds of missions and stuff, being a hero. Everyone fucking loves this guy. Wes is the man, and he's got all kinds of war stories, and everyone loves him. But he doesn't love everyone else. He only has eyes for Nancy Reagan. He's got a picture. He's sleeping with it. He's bumbling in his sleep. And the XO comes in and is like, yo, cool it. That's the captain's like former, boo. You can't just be like going around making him all jelly right now. Like he's going to probably leave you in the water to die at some point.
Wow. That's pretty intense foreshadowing.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a foreshadowing at that point where he tells him that probably Ronald Reagan, future president, is going to leave him to die in the water. And he like kind of wakes up. He almost looks like he's like hungover. It's kind of weird that he's like the main guy. Everyone loves him. He comes in and everyone's like, yeah, like tell us the story again. And he's like, all right, I was swimming around and there were Japanese like ships everywhere. And everyone's like, whoa, like you're the coolest, man, Wes. You're so cool. I hope you bang Nancy Reagan later. And he's like, oh, I will. And then he goes out with all his crew and they kind of go off in pairs, getting some mines or whatever. Someone starts to have a lot of issues in the water. And so one person kind of...
It wasn't really clear what was going on.
I think it seemed like it was a case of they've been doing a lot of missions and people were out there too long. And so they had started to have some effects of being underwater like that, under pressure for so long. So this guy went out there, thought he was okay. And then all of a sudden he was really struggling. And so a pair is kind of taking him back. And one of the guys who's with Wes is like, yo, I'm going to like help this guy. Or that's how I interpreted the scene. It's hard to tell who was who. And so he goes off to help him. And they get the mine, they pull it up on board, they get a couple of these mines or whatever. And everyone looks around and they're like, okay, is the guy okay? And the guy that was struggling is like, yeah, I'm okay. And they're like, where's Wes? And everyone's kind of like, I thought he was with you. Wasn't he with you? Well, you don't know that? And then everyone's like, we don't know where Wes is. All of a sudden they get like a little, the sonar guy's like, or radar guy, whatever, is like, there is a boat 3,000 yards away coming straight for us. And Reagan's got to make a big old decision. And us as the audience, he's like, save Wes, he's a hero. We're also thinking in the back of your mind,
he's the best guy in the movie so far.
Yeah, and in the back of our mind though, we're like, yo, is Ronald Reagan going to murder this guy because he's sleeping with his wife? What? Or his girlfriend? And so,
like, he totally is going to murder this guy, right?
So then the XO comes in and is like, please don't murder this guy. Actually, I see him right over there. And there's Wes kind of just like struggling in the water. He's like, hey, help me. And like a young guy.
He's like 100 yards away, so not that far.
And then another guy on the ship, this young guy, is like, yo, I see Wes. He's right there. And and Ronald Reagan's like, wait, how close is this boat? And like 2,500 yards. Like, it's getting too close. We better play it safe. And everyone's like, what the fuck? He's like literally right there. It's fine. He's like, no, we're diving the ship. And so they dive the boat and everyone's like, whoa, we just murdered Wes. Like, that doesn't feel great.
Yeah. We just left that dude in the middle of the ocean with a Japanese battleship bearing down on him.
Yeah. So anyways, they kind of see that the ship's going away. They shoot torpedoes at it or something. I think that's right. Oh, whatever. And
yes, they do. And they miss. And then guess what happens now?
Getting a little depth charge.
Depth charge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Depth charge mania.
And so
all of a sudden we get a fire on board too, which is something that we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, there's all kinds.
It didn't look like a destroyer though. I don't know if that kind of was what they were talking about with production quality.
I think they borrowed a lot of them. I'm pretty sure they borrowed a lot of miniatures from other movies because I feel like I even recognized one of them from one of the movies that we've watched before. So I don't think, and there was definitely obviously stock footage like used in a lot of the film. So I don't think they necessarily did put a lot of production into this. I will also mention that a lot of the side actors were not good. They were specifically.
Did you guys have a favorite side actor or side character?
It was the actress at the end, the nurse at the end, when Nancy Reagan goes up to Ronald Reagan and is like, hey, will you buy me a cigarette? And Ronald Reagan's like, sure will. I sure do love cigarettes, and all the children of America should smoke. And then this other nurse comes by, and it's almost like she forgets her line. Like they have to almost like tap her on the shoulder, and she's like, hey, what about me? And then Nancy Reagan's like, you find your own sailor. And they walk away. And it's, though, like, hands down, one of the worst line readings I've ever seen. So
I really enjoyed Carol, who was played by William Phillips. I don't think you mentioned Kyle, and that was the guy that was doing the gambling and stuff.
Oh, I did like.
I
have a lot to say.
I
have a lot to say about that gambling from a scientific point of view.
Yes, I was hoping you would.
Yeah, because that is.
And one of my favorite guys. He's coming right up. He is about to have a birthday party.
All right, I'll let you do it.
Yeah. So, anyways, I do want to mention this is a very common trope in military movies, particularly back in the 50s, 40s, and before, of the love triangle. As I've mentioned before in the podcast, the very first Oscar ever was awarded to a war movie that the entire point was a love triangle. This one's interesting only insofar that it's immediately resolved because Wes is killed by Ronald Reagan inadvertently. And in the course of action, we are joking around because like the entire point of this movie is that Ronald Reagan makes the right decision here. Like he saves the people on board by diving rather than risking everyone for the life of one person. And that's kind of the point, is that he's acting as a commander and not too much letting his emotion get in the way of making the right decision.
And the one thing I learned right here, right now, is that you just don't mess with Ronald Reagan, I guess, because he will leave you in the middle of the ocean to die.
So anyways,
and not
as
think twice
you're
about
mentioning, you have a favorite character. He's this young guy. His name is, do you have his name?
Oh, yeah. Well, first off, right before we get into that, they survive the depth charge, and the XO confronts the captain, and he's just like, hey, dude, not cool what you did back there letting Wes die. He was pretty savable. Captain's like, dude, that guy had a picture of my lady. Of course I'm going to let him die. And then...
Well, I'm not sure he said that in so many words, but you could tell in his eyes. He's a very good actor. It's a lot of like acting with his eyes.
A little twinkle in him.
Yeah.
But anyway, so then we cut on over to the saddest birthday party I've ever seen. It's pretty great. There's a guy sitting there with a cake in front of him who's extremely...
Yeah.
He's super pissed off. And eventually everybody's like, bro, blow out your candles, Freddie. It's your 19th birthday. He takes the cake, throws it at the wall with the candles lit.
Mm-hmm.
And
almost
Ronald Reagan
hits
gets a little,
Ronnie.
yeah, he's got some icing on his face, and he's like, "What's going on here?" And
I'm assuming that was ad-libbed. He actually had a little bit of icing on his face, and he grabbed it with his finger and licked it off.
Yeah. And then Freddie's like, "You let him die. I saw him in the water. I literally was holding him, and you pushed him back in the water." And he's just basically really traumatized by this experience, and really is not happy with Ronald Reagan at this point. So anyways, they go back, they finish their mission and stuff like that. They have these mines. They go back to Guam. They're going to start to do experiments, or the scientists, on the mines and figure out what's going on. Ronnie Reagan, I mean, just to get into this before we talk about his relationship with Nancy Reagan, is really kind of very skeptical of the science of this. He's like, well, why don't we just follow a boat through the strait? And they're like, we've tried that. We literally just lost a submarine doing that. And he's like, but we should do that. What's the big deal? Why do we got to like waste this time like figuring out how to see these mines? And it's like, dude, come on. If you follow a ship through, they could change the mine formation, and they would. Like, think with your brain, Ronald Reagan. Like, you can't just follow them through a track. It's not going to stay the same. It's better if you can see the mines. But he's not thinking that way. He's like, I want to find a lane.
And wouldn't a ship pass over the mines? Right?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. Apparently, they could just pass under the mines. I'm not sure what the big deal was. Apparently, they just
they should have been doing that the whole time.
I will see that later. So, anyways, he meets back up with his lady love, Nancy Reagan, and she's basically immediately like, Wes, who? Like, I didn't even like him really all that much. I was always in love with you.
Please don't hit me.
Whoa, shit! What? We do not what? And then she's basically like, I love you. He's all broken up. He can't figure out what he really wants out of this, because he finds it very strange to have had this guy die under his command and then to swoop in and like mac on this lady, even though clearly he loves her as well. So he's kind of struggling with that a little bit as well. So he's very wishy-washy about whether he wants to be with her or not. But she clearly is like all in on Ronnie Reagan all day long.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then, I mean, what was kind of nice here is we didn't really waste any time at all getting to see trials, because they kind of figured out what they needed to do to change their sonar to pick up these mines. And they just get right to it. Yeah,
they get right to it. Freddie's there, and this is where we get the scene, I think, where he's gambling a little bit.
Oh, yeah. This is it.
They have a big old dice game with, what's his name? Carol? Is that his name? And Carol and Freddie, they have a little gambit going on. Basically, what it is he counts what numbers he gets on these dice. And he basically tells him that he's due. Oh, you haven't got a 6 in a while. You're due for a 6. Now, if people know the concept of counting cards in blackjack, you might be like, oh, they're just counting cards. But that requires that there actually is a set number of decks. You know, generally maybe 1 if you're playing with someone else, but in Vegas, 7 maybe. I don't know. I don't know what's in the shoe usually. But the counting the cards is because you have used up some of the cards and they're not back in the deck. The dice are a single entity that exists. And by rolling them, you aren't due a 6. It's just never due a 6. It's always the same fucking probability. These guys are idiots.
Now, Brom rolls a lot of dice. Brom.
I do roll a lot of dice.
What's your take on this?
Are they?
What's your take?
I do roll a lot of dice. I also have 2 friends that are actuaries, though, as well. So that brings a little balance to the force here. And I can say that every roll, you have the same odds to roll your desired result as you will have on the next result or the next roll or the roll after that.
Yeah.
And
Doesn't matter if you
I thought
roll
this
them.
was really funny that they were calling this like their science, their permutations, or whatever they were calling it. And
Yeah,
they were
they're
gonna try it out in Vegas
trying to say how
next month.
smart Freddy is. I'm sitting there being like, this is actually kind of sad. Like I feel sad for you. Like you're gonna go and lose money in Vegas, and also like if this is the movie's way of telling us that Freddy's like a new age smart youngster, like a whippersnapper who's gonna change the way of the world, it's like, oof, like. That's tough because that is not how this works, and it is also.
Do you think that was
really
an honest
dumb.
mistake that they were making, or do
I
you
think
think
it was
they
an
were
honest.
showing
I think
them
it was
as-
an honest mistake. I think it was an
my
honest
gosh.
mistake. I think
I
they were
hope that's
supposed to
not the
be.
case.
I think they were supposed to be showing that Freddy was a smart college kid, like 19 years old, who's going to change the world, talking about permutations and combinations, and they just pick something that is ludicrously just off the wall, bonkers, stupid, and made him look like a complete idiot.
Yeah,
All right,
it's
we're gonna
pretty
try it tomorrow
embarrassing.
night, Jamie.
Okay. So, anyways,
all right, man. You've rolled like 4 threes in a row, dude. You're gonna get a 6.
you're due for 3. You roll a 3.
It's happening.
So, anyways, they're seeing the mines. They're pretty happy with that in this first sea trial. They kind of get hung up on a mine at one point, and then there's like,
Oh, dude, we totally forgot something right after the gambling.
yeah.
Completely forgot, man. We had a classic scene that we've seen in many movies. There was the boat pitched a little bit,
Yep.
and all of a sudden we had an accident in the torpedo room.
Right.
Torpedo lands on a dude.
And this is another thing. So I copied the synopsis down from AFI, American Film Institute, a place that should be pretty good. I don't know who writes the shit, but they said they were attacked by an enemy attack where they were depth charged. Not here. It was just they lurched because they hit the mine or something, right? They were hung up on a mine and they lurched.
Yeah, there wasn't any like outright attack because the captain was in the room.
Yeah, and they were
And he's
all,
like, all right, somebody take care of that. Somebody secure that fish. And somebody was just bleeding out like crazy.
Yeah, it was all sea trials anyways. So, and they like, because then they rise up. So basically Freddy gets crushed by a torpedo, more or less. Classic. He's like, secure those eels, or fish. Secure those fish. And they have a decision to make. Here's basically another conundrum, moral conundrum. Freddy's hurt, but they need to rise up immediately and head back to base, but there's so many ships around that it's actually dangerous to do this, and they have had their sonar and stuff knocked out as a result of like the lurching and stuff like that, so they really can't know where anything is. And Ronald Reagan has to make a decision. Well, do I rise up and endanger the crew or let Freddy die? And in this case he makes the opposite decision. I think they kind of imply that he does let his emotions kind of,
he's becoming more
the better
human.
of him.
And I think the main thing driving this decision right here is Freddy was not sleeping with his lady.
oh, I see. Okay.
That's the only reason.
I see. Okay. Yeah. Cause he wasn't boning Nancy Reagan.
That's right. He's like, this guy's a non-threat. We can save him. I don't care.
It's true.
He's not Wes.
You're only saying facts. You're only saying facts that he did not sleep with Nancy Reagan. And he did not die at the hands of Ronald Reagan.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's right. Anyways, so he brings him back. Again, he's kind of like broken up by all this stuff. And the XO is like kind of like really pissed at this point. He's like, look at you. You're doing one thing, then you're doing another, and you're yelling at me. Like, this is bullshit. But they get a new assignment now. They got to go out and they got to attack a base. And it's really important. And it's going to be the same people. He's going to be his XO and him, and everyone's there and everyone's happy. And it's like, okay, this is a great mission. Pretty straightforward. Let's go do it. And more or less, that's what happens. They go out there, they get right to the base, they get everyone kind of geared up. The XO is one of the guys that ends up going on the mission, right? I think that's right,
Yeah,
right?
he's out there. He kind
of leads the mission. There's like 6 people who go out there. They're going to rig up some things. I'm pretty sure the miniature work here was reused. I'm almost positive I've seen it before. It looks so familiar. But anyways, they go on shore, they row on shore, they rig up all this stuff. It's supposed to go off when they get back to the submarine. And then once everything goes off, the submarine can kind of like go after some of the boats, but it goes off too early and actually incinerates one of the guys that are on the mission. 5 of them get back. They're like, where's that other guy? He's dead. They're like, okay, we gotta dive, but the people are already on them. Basically, they're shooting at the submarine. Things aren't going really super well. They have to dive real quick. and they're getting depth. They start to get depth charts and stuff like that, and they get some like heavy damage, mostly in the torpedo room. The torpedo room is like flooding. Things are going super awry, but they survive. Everything is like okay, and really they're just dealing with these leaks. And if they can just put the plugs in and increase the pressure in the room, they should be okay. And what does Ronald Reagan see just at this moment? That everything seems okay.
Everything seems okay right now because sonar's knocked out and everything doesn't seem okay for a while. But then he's like, hey, I see a merchant ship going through a minefield.
Right.
I know what I want to do.
He's like, yeah,
He's
fuck
like,
science.
Ronnie, calm down.
Fuck those dice games over there where everyone's using science. I want to get a effing map now of the course going through these mines. And he even calls down to the XO, he's the one who's kind of taking care of the torpedo room, and is like, yo, I'm going to do this. What do you think? And the XO's like, that's not our mission. Like, we just did our mission and we're heavily damaged. We should head back to port. And Ronnie Reagan's like, don't think so, baby. And is like, we're going to follow that ship and we're going to map a course. And he does just that. And they're going along. Everything's going pretty well. They get about 2 minutes away from finishing the entire course. They more or less have it. When all of a sudden their compressor fails and they can't keep the pressure up in the room. And so they start heading back and they go as far as they can. But the room's flooding. They're not going to be able to surface anymore if they let it go too long. And so at the last moment, he's like, okay, we're going to surface, even though it's pretty dangerous to do this because otherwise we're going to sink and it's obviously we'll all die. So he brings up to the surface and almost immediately a Japanese submarine's like, what's that? It seems like there's a submarine over there. And so they man their guns and everything goes to absolute shit immediately. Ronnie Reagan's on the top of the submarine trying to like get stuff going. Things are exploding everywhere. He gets knocked into the water. They have to like bring him onto the lifeboat, and he's like one of 7 people who survives or something like that. Plus the map, which he kept. Obviously, he had put that stuffed it right down in his pants. Like he had his captain dick out. Then he was like, oh shit, like enemy fire. I don't want any damage to occur. So he slipped it back into his pants. And while he did that, he stuffed the map in there too. Obviously, I got to keep it safekeeping. And he gets completely knocked out and it wakes up back in Guam where they've been rescued. Oh no, sorry, they get rescued by a plane and then they end up in Guam. And so he's sitting there and he's really a wreck, like a total wreck, because he lost 60 men. He keeps on talking about 60 men. Oh, I let 60 men die. Now, I do want to get your opinion on this as we've gone through some of these questions. What do you think of his decision making at this point?
Well, so when he went through that field, I thought that they had no other options, right? Like the sonar was totally out. They couldn't go through the minefield underwater, right?
Well, so they didn't have to go through the minefield at all. They chose to go. They chose to follow that ship through it.
Oh well, then it's a little dicey,
right? Isn't it? I mean, they basically said it was like
a little reckless.
It was not part of your mission, and he said it's not precluded from my mission. That's what he said in 2 different occasions.
Yeah. Very true.
It wasn't not part of my mission. More or less, he's like, they were like, it's not part of your mission. He's like, it wasn't not part of my mission. And everyone's like, what? No, that means it's not part of your mission.
That's right.
But you didn't specifically say I couldn't do it. It's like, what? We have to say you can't do everything. Also, don't ride your submarine straight into Tokyo Bay and start firing on buildings. It's like, oh, you didn't say I couldn't do it. It's like, come on. You're
very headstrong.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess his point was that he felt like if he had the radio and had been able to radio that in, they would have said yes. And in his opinion, it was the best course of action for the war, and so he had to take it, which is not incorrect. They might have gotten the thing. I think just with the damage to the ship, kind of crazy. They didn't have radio, sonar, or radar, and their torpedo room was flooding, so they didn't even have weapons. It's like,
yeah, it was not good.
They probably should have turned back, but at the same time, like he was super keyed in on getting this map, which is funny for the next part. Because anyways, he's super broke up. Freddie wakes up and it's basically, where is everyone? Why isn't no one visiting me? And they're all like, oh, sweet summer child. They're gonna come. Don't worry about it, man. And he's like, oh, where's my dice? Maybe I'll win some money. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, put them away, you sweet summer child. What a sweet idiot. As I pat Pat is sad.
And now it basically starts a full-blown investigation into Reagan's actions.
And the XO is...
I thought this was going to be the rest of the movie, and I was like, oh my gosh.
That would have been dark.
Yeah, I was like, what is going to happen here?
But the XO is super pissed because he's supposed to get a ship, be a captain. And basically Ronald Reagan was in a thing being like, no, he shouldn't get a ship, which is very similar to, I think... I can't remember. Run Silent, Run Deep, I think, was similar to that, where they he makes a recommendation that he's too headstrong. He can't. He shouldn't get a ship
Ernest
or something.
Borgnine, right?
Oh yes, that's the one. Yeah, you're right.
Which one was that?
Oh, Torpedo Run?
Torpedo Run, maybe.
Greatest film ever made. Bromance.
Yep, that was the one.
That was the one, yeah. So we've seen it in other ones. He makes the recommendation. Oh, we're not doing so bad.
We're not doing bad, but we're not doing great.
And we're kind of in the middle. So anyways, yeah. So he's the XO is like pissed because he's been basically told like he's not going to get a command specifically because of Reagan. And then Reagan's like, oh, by the way, there's like an inquiry tomorrow. So like, I guess you got to be honest or whatever. And so they get into the inquiry, and the XO is having trouble kind of managing his emotions, but he does the right thing and kind of just says like, it's not his opinion, it's not his whatever. And they come to the conclusion that Reagan was fine in his judgment, that it was not his fault for losing the boat. He didn't do anything. He wasn't dereliction of duty isn't a problem. And he made a judgment call as a commander of a submarine, and that judgment call was deemed perfectly fine. And so he's okay. And they kind of inform him also, the commander is like, by the way, we're going to be doing a mission into the Strait of Japan. We figured out these mines, we can see them, and you brought back this map, and that makes it even doubly more plausible to do this. So we're going to have like 6 submarines or whatever, 8 submarines go into the Straits of Japan, go through the minefields, lie in wait. Then they're going to rise up on a certain day, do a whole bunch of attacks. You're going to be attack for about I think it was like 2 weeks or something. Then when it hits a certain day, you all leave. And we kind of just let Japan know that, hey, you thought you were safe for these getting food from the mainland. Well, guess what? You're not, because we have figured out your mines. It's supposed to be kind of a scare tactic to try to end the war. And he's like, I want you to command a submarine. And he's like, oh, which submarine? And they give him the Sea Ray, which was supposed to be the one that the guy was going to be the commander of. And he's like, but he's going to be the XO. He's going to be your XO again. Like, that's part of the requirements. And Ronnie Reagan's like, well, he's a good XO. So yeah, that's fine. And so they get through, they hear the mission, and they get on board, and immediately their relationship is like super strained. Like the XO is
the XO is down. Oh man, he is talking to all the other sailors, just like, yeah, dude, Captain's a total POS, and he really screwed up when he lost the entire crew of the other boat.
Hope we don't all die, right, guys?
And Captain walks in and he's like, hey, guys, some coffee with you guys?
He's like, also, that guy is, and they're waiting for him to say piece of shit, but then he goes, a really good XO. And you're like, Ronnie Reagan, that's why he became president.
Because he's emotionless.
Right, he's like a robot. So anyways, they head into the minefields. They decide, there was a really funny part where Ronald Reagan's like, and we'll use my charts. And I'm like, you could also use your sonar. Like, I mean, they did figure this all out with the sonar. Anyways, they use the chart for about halfway, and they're like, oh man, they changed the mines. I'm like, duh, come on, guys. Like, well, I guess we'll have to use our sonar now. And then they start using the sonar to go through, but they kind of get spotted by like a destroyer and stuff. And so they were getting depth charged and a bunch of stuff like that. And so they go to the bottom of the strait, and they're underneath the mines and stuff like that. And they're like, oh man, we can't stay down here for super long. We're kind of damaged. We got to try to get out of here. And so they head out, and they're like, well, how do we get through? Like, we can't go too high, though. They're still searching for us. Like, well, can we stay at like 250 feet and get under the mines? And everyone's like, yeah. I'm like, wait, what? Like, you could
have done that the entire time.
I'm confused. You went the halfway underneath the mines. Can't you do the whole way underneath the mines? Why do you even need a fucking chart? Why do you need any sonar? It's dumb.
They didn't need that at all, man. It was a complete waste of time.
This movie's dumb.
And it cost 60 actors their lives.
Exactly. Those actors never worked again because they died in that submarine accident.
I know. They didn't have stuntmen back in the 50s. Are you kidding me?
No, and they were like, they got pigeonholed. They were like, basically everyone who's looking for actors, they were like, wait a second, we're not looking for any dead submariners for these parts. Okay. And the actors were like, damn it. So anyways, they go in, they start their attack on June 9th. Everything's going bananas. They're looking, they've lost one submarine in the whole Hellcat group. But for the most part, they're destroying tons and tons of Japanese fleet. And they're like super jazzed. And then all of a sudden, they're kind of like going around and the propeller gets jammed on. They're trying to go through like a net. They're like, oh, we didn't know there was a net here. They could try to go over and they go, there's a nice little hole. And they get their propeller jammed all up in that net. And they're like, shit. And so then, which was a little confusing what happens here, the commander's like, I got to go out and do it.
Well, because everybody else is injured. Like, Exo's in a sling.
That's true. So there's literally not one other person who can go out. It just seems crazy.
That's what he said. He looks
the captain
like
of the boat is like, and now I'll go. It's like, well, that seems a mistake, but that's fine.
I know. It was like the 3 highest ranking people on the entire boat. And he's like, well, only one of us can do it. And it's got to be me. There's no possible way any of the other crew members could do this task.
Yeah. So anyways, everyone knows what's going to happen here because he goes down there and he gets a little tangled up in those lines. And he's like, well, I'm tangled here. It's just take me a while to get untangled. It should be okay. And then what happens? 3,000 yards away, fucking destroyer.
Battleship!
And they're like, oh shit, do we leave him? And he's like, we're not leaving him. And Ronald Reagan's like, you gotta leave me. And the captain's, the XO is like, shit, it's exactly the exact moral thing that he had to go through. And now I'm going through it. He's like, shit. And then it looks like 2,500 yards. The ship's right there. I can basically see it's going to destroy us. He's like, we're going to dive. And so they dive. And they're basically like, I guess Ronald Reagan's dead.
First, the XO, in very dramatic fashion, severs the radio comm, the cable, so they can no longer communicate with Reagan at all.
Yeah. And so then they dive. They survive all the stuff. And they're like, okay, we survived the thing. Let's go up and see if he's there. And they go up. And I was waiting for it to be like, and he's not there. And that was the moral thing. I had to go through that, and he's dead. That's too bad. But instead they see him, he's just waving. He's like, oh, hi, I'm here. And everyone's like, oh, there he is. So they rise up, and they bring him back in. And he's like, oh, thanks for picking me up. Now you understand what being a captain's all about. It's like, yes, I do understand what being a captain's all about. It's about killing your fellow sailor when necessary. It's like, that's true.
Two things there. I did think he was dead until
I thought for sure he was dying. The only thing that made me think he wasn't going to die is Nancy Reagan.
Yep, that was same boat there. Yeah. And then 2, how could they dive if they were stuck in the net?
They weren't stuck in the net. They got a piece of the net tangled in the propeller. So they just had a piece of the net.
Okay, so they could dive, but they couldn't propel forward, basically.
Yeah, they were like listing to one side because only one propeller was moving.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
And so, anyways, they come back. They're like super bestie friends now. They've exchanged friendship bracelets. They've like braided each other's hair. They're super best friends. And he comes
Reagan
in.
was even like, dude, you want to be my best man?
Exactly. He's like, and my next command is going to be the most important one. And I really got to get a good ship. Here, Nancy Reagan is the boat that he's talking about here, I think. And he's like, and I need a good captain for it. Will you be my best man? And the guy's like, oh man, I totally will, because we love each other now, and everything in the past is forgotten.
They just spent the last hour and a half just hating each other.
Yeah. So I do have the big question here is, would you be Ronald Reagan's best man when he was getting married?
Absolutely.
I think so. Well, if you didn't, he might kill you and leave you in the ocean.
I don't know if I would. I'm not sure I'd be able to get over the Iran-Contra controversy. I'd be a little concerned about that. I'd want him to explain and help me understand, you know?
I feel like you just can't turn down that opportunity because you would break the ice at every cocktail party with...
That's true.
I was Ronald Reagan's best man.
It'd be better if you were his best man for his first wedding, not to Nancy Reagan. That would be like, whoa, you were the best man for Ronald and Nancy Reagan. Like, no, Ronald Reagan and his first wife. And everyone's like, oh, that's less interesting.
Still cool.
Yeah, still cool, though. The end.
That's the movie in a nutshell, man.
It is. So I'm going to come in last for these ratings.
All right. With it being my movie month, we'll keep the theme. I will recap this here with my rating. I again brought this into the fold because I wanted to see Ronald Reagan act. only heard of him as a president, never got to see him act. And I wasn't disappointed. I thought he carried himself pretty well, and like you said, he kind of felt like a John Wayne type of guy, and felt like a leading actor from the time. Didn't feel any better or worse really from the guys we've been seeing, the Cary Grants of the world, and those guys. But ultimately, the film, it seemed like it was really building around this theme of sometimes you have to sacrifice one to save the many, and that's kind of what the whole movie hinged on. Because everything else really felt, and maybe this is why the ratings were so low. But by 57, we've kind of acknowledged now by how many episodes we've made, just how many submarine movies are out there, and how many submarine movies were coming out in this time period. Maybe people were just kind of a little done and tired of the submarine movies. And this one really didn't feel like it did a whole lot different than those. It didn't feel any really better or worse than something like Up Periscope or Gray Lady Down or something like that. It felt it kind of fit right in there for me. But ultimately didn't really do anything new other than just kind of really hinge on this story of the XO and the commander about this moral conundrum, as Jamie was alluding to there. And I guess maybe people felt that was a little milquetoast or uninspired, and ultimately just comes out as an average submarine movie. And that's kind of where I'm going to rate it as well. IMDb gave it a 5.4, which I think is crazy low, because usually it'll be like a 6 or 7, and I'll be like, that wasn't very good, I'll give it a 4. 5.4 is pretty brutal, but I'm going to give it a 5.5.
Ooh,
for
okay.
our ratings here.
All right, man.
I was thinking it was going to end up being like a 3 or a 2 when I saw it was a 5.4.
I know, that's the entire thing. Like I said, you'd mentioned this movie a long time ago, and I was like, man, Brom, this one's going to suck.
Yeah, you kind of, I didn't feel really any better or worse than a lot of these ones we've watched back then.
No, I totally agree with what you're saying. Basically, I think if this were made in the 90s, this would be like the equivalent of like a TV movie. It was just it was there. It's something that I watched.
Yeah.
For better, for worse, I don't know. I watched it, but it didn't change my whole perspective on sub movies, or like you said, do anything new. I did think that some of the diving scenes when they were getting the mines were probably better than some of the other ones we've seen at this time, because a lot of stuff is miniatures, but they had divers next to this giant sub. So that I thought, okay, we've got that going on in here. And it was shorter. Hour, 20 minutes, not super lengthy. And I did like how we didn't waste a lot of time with the sea trials. Like, you remember Operation Pacific, where they were testing out those new triggers on the heads of torpedoes.
That's true. That took a while.
It was like a 20-minute scene or something. Like, oh my word, can we just please be done with this already? So I was glad we didn't have to see them just fiddling with the sonar. Take the sub out. Nope, we can't detect it. Okay, bring it back. All right, let's take it back out. Oh man, we can't detect it now. Oh wait, we got a half blip. Okay, I think we're almost there. And just keep doing that. That would have drove me absolutely insane. So science, right? They use a lot of science in this film.
Science, for sure.
Not great, not bad. The next year, though, is when Run Silent, Run Deep came out. So just a year later. And Run Silent, Run Deep, I would say, is just by far and away a better film than this. But I didn't think anything here was overly bad, but it's just kind of there, middle of the road. I don't know if I'd go as low as you, Brom, but I did think IMDb was a little low. I'm going to give it like a 6. And that's probably, I don't know, it's probably going to be the highest that we're going to see on here. I don't know.
So, Brom, what'd you give it again? Sorry.
A 5.5.
I'm going to come in considerably lower than you guys. I thought this movie was terrible. It's not like it's not entertaining. Like, I think it's not like the most boring or worst one. We've had ones that come in where we're like, eesh, that was like tough to watch. I didn't find this one tough to watch or anything like that. I just felt like it was a ramshackle production, really low quality acting other than, I mean, I thought actually Nancy Reagan was pretty good. I thought Ronald Reagan was okay. It definitely seemed like he had moments, especially their like weird monologue or dialogue they had of talking about the moon, where it's like, oh,
That made no sense.
I'm going to do something on the moon. And she's like, I've had a lot of time to know. What do you know about the moon? And she's like, I had a lot of time to look at the moon. It's like, what? What is this? It's clearly someone writing something to try to have them have something to like something meaty to do on screen.
Yeah.
And I felt like she was doing a little better than, and he was kind of, it almost seemed like he was kind of like mailing that part in. But I mean, I don't know. I just was watching. I felt like it was low production value, really repetitive. I swear to God, we've watched this exact movie before.
Yeah. The various pieces come together, and you can point to a different movie for each different sort of scene.
It's very similar to Operation Pacific too. Like he comes back, he's had this ex-girlfriend who he kind of like, his nurse that he kind of likes, and he's trying to rekindle things with, but she's kind of seeing someone else.
Michael Bay, Pearl Harbor.
Yeah. So
a little bit.
Call. So like, I mean, I don't know. I came into it being like, or came into recording this where I was like, oh, everyone's going to be coming in pretty low. I'm surprised you're coming in so high. I don't actually feel so bad about coming in pretty low because I do think
get after it.
I got to, and I feel like it's what my heart. I'm following my heart, and what my heart says is that it's a 4.
Okay, that's not egregious.
No, it's a 4.
I think
it's
we're
not
all saying the
so
same
out of the
thing.
realm
I think
of possibilities.
when we dive into the 3s and 3.5s, I'm usually talking about movies that are like objectively awful that have actually like tickled me and made me that I think are funny. This is just one that I think I was excited for, and actually I'm happy that I watched. It's just I don't think the production value is up. I did like all the submarine stuff and how it like kept on hitting everything. The only thing we didn't see was a wrench, but we saw like fire. They said fish, torpedoes going.
With an accident in the torpedo room.
Yeah, like someone get crushed by a torpedo, which is really a classic. I mean, I can't tell you how much I enjoy seeing someone crushed by a torpedo. Like that's just something we miss in a lot of the movies. Is that the crushing blow by that torpedo on someone's poor head and giving them a seriously fractured skull. So a lot of really good pieces that you can pick up. I just didn't think the whole was very good at all. Like a low production value type of movie. But
something we've seen in these older movies too is the land raids.
Yeah, exactly.
They send out. They're like, okay, all right, do a mission tonight, and let's blow a bunch of shit up.
Yeah, Operation Pacific had those. Up Periscope
Crash Dive from 43
Dive.
had a surprisingly good one. For the rest of that movie, all the weird love triangle stuff.
Which one was that one in the Crash Dive? Was that the one where they went on and they had to blow up a facility? What'd they do in that one? The land raid.
That's when he went in and he tasted the oil. Didn't he taste the oil or something?
Oh,
like that?
Good one. That was a good one. I like that one.
That was a good land raid.
Yeah. Anyways, should I get into some trivia?
Sure.
Hold on. Best land raid though, Latitude Zero.
What about Operation Petticoat when they
was
raid
Latitude
their own
Zero
supplies?
with a flying lion?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, that was the best one. Sorry, what did you say, Brom?
So what about Operation Petticoat when they raid their own supplies?
I like that one a lot. God, I love that. Operation Petticoat. I just want to watch it again. I can't believe people came in so low for that one. That was a great movie.
Honestly, it's probably the one, if I could adjust any score, it'd probably be that one and bump it up some more.
Really?
Yeah.
I often think back on nights while I'm lying there awake about how high I rated Fate of the Furious.
I was going to say Moby Dick.
I think
2010 Moby Dick.
5 or something. I was like, that's a little generous, Kyle.
I think I talked you down on that one, too. I think, wasn't that the one where I'm like, if you give it an 8, I'm quitting?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think
It came in like a 7.9.
Yeah.
Right.
It was still pretty darn high. And I'm like, ooh, yeah.
All right, I'm going to do some
in
trivia.
summation, Hellcats of the Navy didn't do anything new, and what it did do, it didn't do it the best.
See, I feel like I'm going to look back and be like, maybe I should adjust that one because it's just like a very classic submarine movie. Like a lot of just classic stuff that happens in it.
Just a lot of cliche stuff, though. I mean, think about the ones, think about Destination Tokyo from 41.
God, I like that one a lot.
I know.
That was a good
It's
one.
my favorite.
It's
I was
good.
going to mention it. Yeah.
Well, Run Silent, Run Deep is my favorite, and that one's good. But again, a lot
of the
a lot
old
of stuff
ones.
happening.
So, yeah.
Well, Run Silent, Run Deep is an old one. Anyways. Okay,
I'm
so I'm going to trivia.
specifying on my response there. Go ahead.
I'm going to do trivia. All right.
Do it.
So the name of the Hellcat submarine in this movie was USS Starfish, a.k.a. the Starfish. This was a fictional name and not the name of a real World War II Hellcat submarine. It was in keeping with the type of name that they would have, though. And here are the names of the actual Hellcat submarines: SS-411, USS Spadefish; SS-401, USS Sea Dog; SS-291, USS Crevalle; SS-302, USS Skate; SS-282, USS Tunney; SS-283, USS Tenosa; SS-229, USS Flying Fish; SS-287, USS Bowfin; and SS-223, USS Bonefish. If you know what I mean.
Those are the Hellcats?
Those are the Hellcat submarines, yeah.
Huh.
I'm picking up what you're putting down, man.
Oh, you better believe it.
Fish.
So then Reagan, this is what I was saying before, Reagan said in his autobiography that he was disappointed overall in the film, having expected a result more like Destination Tokyo, what up, a major submarine film during World War II. The diminished status of the feature films that Reagan was being offered, plus his increased involvement with television, led to his leaving the big screen forever. And it does seem like he only really appeared in one other film many years later. And otherwise he did entirely TV for a while. It was the first and only time that Ronald Reagan acted with his Nancy Reagan, his wife, Nancy Reagan, in a movie. They did appear frequently together on television, though, in General Electric Theater, which Ronald Reagan hosted. The source of this movie was based on a book by Charles A. Lockwood and Hans Christian Adamson entitled Hellcats of the Sea. It was actually also the title that this movie was originally going to be released under, but then they changed it to Hellcats of the Navy.
Probably because there's so much Navy involvement or something. I mean, it seems...
I don't know. I
Why
think
else
maybe
change
it
it?
flows. I think Hellcats of the Navy sounds better. Hellcats of the Sea doesn't sound very great. I don't know. I like this title better. The Los Angeles Times reported that Edmund H. North worked on the movie screenplay, but he's not billed in the end. So they're not sure how much of his involvement was actually ended up in the final script. And then also the screenwriting credit of Raymond T. Marcus for this film is actually an alias for blacklisted screenwriter Bernard Gordon. Gordon once said that he thought that it was ironic that he could not put his name to the script due to the blacklist that the actual movie star Ronald Reagan denied ever existed. So Ronald Reagan denied that the blacklist existed, and yet one of his movies had a blacklisted writer on it. Towards the end, when a Japanese ship is torpedoed, the footage of the explosion is the HMS Barham, so actually a British ship, torpedoed in the Mediterranean in 1941. And that's when I mentioned there was a lot of stock footage. That was one of those times. So a bunch of times where they just kind of inserted footage from like newsreels and stuff.
What year was that blown up?
1941.
So that was real combat scenario that they caught on tape.
I guess, yeah. It was a British ship, though, so not a Japanese ship, as would have been the case in the film. The Hollywood Reporter was announced the following to be the cast for the movie: Frank Bella, Frank Chase, Richard Cutting, James Dobson, and Oliver McGowan. These actors do not appear in the film, so they had some original cast that they didn't end up using. They must have recast, or it took too long and they did something else. All right. Now the important one. Casting what ifs. What other people in movies about cats would have done well here? Okay, so Antonio Banderas, Puss in Boots.
Oh, man, dude. He could be the XO.
That's a good one. I like that one. He's a little suave, a little. He can get a little angry. He'd be, hey, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm Antonio Banderas. Hey, right?
I would put him as Wes Barton. I feel like he could have that sexy suave.
Ladies, man.
That is great.
Stealing
Good
the lady.
call. And think about that.
Cameo.
That's going to drive Ronald Reagan crazy, seeing Antonio Banderas snuggling up with a picture of his wife. He's fucking Antonio Banderas.
Yep.
How can he compete? He's got to kill
He's
him.
got the accent and everything.
Yeah. What about Kevin Spacey in 9 Lives? No, he's been canceled. Sorry. He's not involved. No, Kevin Spacey. We don't want you here.
Okay. I was going to say, I can't, ever since all that stuff went down, I can't even
Carol.
have a hard time.
You say no. I just did want to mention he was in that movie 9 Lives, which is a terrible cat movie. That's why I wanted to bring it up.
He'd be Carol.
Good. But why?
He would be, but he's not.
Oh, no. Okay. Keanu Reeves in Keanu. It's a film about a cat.
Keanu. He was in Keanu?
Yeah, he was. He showed up in it.
I don't remember that.
He
Okay.
was. Sorry.
Oh, man.
Little-
Make him, who's the 19-year-old's name?
Freddy. He's Freddy. He's a good Freddy. He's timeless, really, ageless.
He is, man.
What about Bill Murray, Garfield the movie?
Bill Murray would have to be on land, right? I mean, one of the...
Well, he could be Carol.
One of the guys.
He'd be Carol for sure.
Team him up, Keanu Reeves, rolling some dice, talking science.
That'd be a real weird combo.
I like that.
Bill Murray and Keanu Reeves.
Yeah. What about Dame Judi Dench from the upcoming Cats movie? I mean, I think we all are thinking it's Nancy Reagan, right?
Yeah.
She is the love interest, straight up. Judi Dench.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and then finally, what about Ed Harris? So he's in a film called Cat's Meow. Have you guys heard about this film?
No, remind me.
Okay. So
Regale
it's a film,
me.
Yeah, so he plays a super sexy cat, and everyone's like, who is that cat? And they're like, ding, whenever he walks by, because he's like the super sexy cat. And people are super into this cat and the cat's washboard abs, right? But it's weird, too, because the cat's like the size of a human and walks on its hind legs and also has no hair on its body.
Oh, it's one of those like Egyptian cats, huh?
Right,
The
but also,
Sphinx.
yeah, basically the size of a human being and no hair on its body and the size of a human and washboard abs, and also just looks like Ed Harris.
Does he have like a tail?
Oh yes, that's actually I was going to mention. The only thing that's very cat-like about him is he has a very long, luxurious tail. So, and he wears jeans. He wears like I don't know, Wranglers, really.
Wranglers.
It's the only thing
the
he
tail
wears.
pops out.
Oh yeah.
I just Googled
like-
Sphinx with abs and didn't get any results.
Really, that's weird. The internet
come
is
on.
somehow failing us on this
Let me
one. But
down.
no, I gotta say, those Wranglers ride pretty low, and everyone's like, "Dang!" Right? So what about Ed Harris?
Well, I want him as a cat.
Mr. Steal Your Girl, Wes Barton.
No. I think he's the guy. Him and Judi Dench are getting it on. That's Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan right there.
Reagan.
Okay.
Yeah. Has he ever played the president? Probably not. I know he was the bad guy, like Secretary of Defense in Geostorm, but
I know that's what I was trying to think if he was in Geostorm, but he wasn't.
he was not. No, he was like Secretary of Defense or something. All
You
right.
and I
Well,
saw that movie together in theaters.
yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Can't wait for the second one.
Okay, I'm gonna do a Phantom Zone.
Do it.
Engage the Phantom.
Phantoms engaged, sir.
So this is a true classic one. I've actually used this one before in other ones. So Arthur Franz can take us the Atomic Submarine, where he played Lieutenant Commander Richard Reef Holloway. In that is Brett Halsey, and he was also in Submarine Seahawk, one we haven't watched. From there, we can go from Submarine Seahawk through Paul Maxwell, who was in Madam Sin as Connors. And as I mentioned before in this podcast, we used to use Robert Wagner for this, but no, he is accused of murder, and we don't condone murder. Just like we don't condone Kevin Spacey, we don't condone Robert Wagner, so I'm not going to use him. Instead, I'm going
Robert
to use
Wagner, number 2 from
Yeah.
Austin Powers, is
Kyle, we have
accused
been
of
over
murder?
this. We've
We've
been
gone
over this
numerous times.
many times.
Do we have to have our own? I think we have to have a whole episode just to explain this to you.
Let's have
But
a
yes,
Robert Wagner podcast.
Yeah, so he's accused of a murder. It was a while ago. I mean, it's not like a recent murder or anything like that. It was a murder, just like one. Christopher Walken was there. It's no big deal, really. But anyways, we're not going to use him. We're going to use Burt Kwok, who played a operator, I think, on that one, and he was also in You Only Live Twice. That stars Terry Shimada.
Boom, my
No
boy.
way.
Yeah. So, and that we all know we can use Terry Shimada to get to Ed Harris. So don't worry about that one.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's that.
Good Lord.
Thank you, Jamie.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, getting it done.
I'm gonna get
Alrighty.
I'm gonna get a Tiro Shimada tattoo when we wrap up
Are
the
you?
podcast. It'd be
That'd
great.
be pretty cool, man.
So
That
we're
would
thinking
be
like
good.
I feel like we could
2040.
each get like a personal hero, but only one person's allowed, Ed Harris. So I think that should be Kyle.
Whoa. I know I'm getting Borgnine.
Oh, good call.
Borgnine.
Yeah, man. Come on.
It's something to aspire to, his looks.
Maybe
Get
we
that
could.
body like Borgnine.
Yeah, body like Borgnine. That's the new exercise video I'm releasing.
It's sub
Wide. All right, so Jamie had mentioned at the beginning of this movie, there is a person talking, explaining what's going on. And I was like, what is this? This is really weird. And so I wanted to know who the heck it was. Why on earth they had a 72-year-old man out there explaining what was happening? And as we saw on the mailbox, it's weird they zoomed in on the mailbox to show us who it was. It is Fleet Admiral Chester W. Nimitz. This guy is a total badass, actually. I looked into him, so this is going to be a special Subs Worldwide. I thought this guy's way too interesting to not talk about, so let's go ahead and see who the heck he is. He is actually someone that we should be worshiping because he was an expert in submarines. He saw the transition from gasoline-powered to diesel subs, and then he even helped get approval to build the first nuclear-powered submarine. He also was the lead developer in underway replenishment techniques, which allows you to supply other boats and ships with fuel, munitions, and other supplies while they're out at sea so they don't have to go back to port, which is pretty cool. He was born in 1885 in Texas.
Favorite year?
His father, that year? Man, that's a great year. His father died 6 months before he was born. It's kind of sad. And when he was looking to further his education, he tried to get into West Point, but there actually weren't any spots. West Point is the Army. But his congressman said, why don't you go ahead and go to the Naval Academy? He did. Worked out for us. We got this movie out of it, I guess. He graduated from the Naval Academy in 1905 and immediately started kicking ass. He was on all kinds of boats, doing all types of crazy stuff. He even went over to Germany in Nuremberg and studied engines at a diesel plant in 1913. So war broke out in 1917. He was like, why don't I get on out of here? And he was given command of the Maumee, which is a city I used to live in, actually. I was like, that's really weird. But it's
also probably a Native American tribe, if I had to guess.
I would guess so, too. And the name of a river originating in Fort Wayne. So he got that, and he did the first underway refueling ever. And for his service in World War I, he got a letter of commendation. Then in World War II, this is where this guy really starts to shine. So 10 days after Pearl Harbor was attacked, FDR was like, Nimitz, you're now the commander-in-chief of the U.S. Pacific Fleet. He's like, sweet, I'll do that. So he just started kicking some serious ass in the Pacific, and there was an act of Congress that created the rank Fleet Admiral, which is the highest rank in the Navy. The very next day, FDR appointed Nimitz that rank. He said, you're it, man. So he was instrumental in literally every single major conflict in the Pacific. The Battle of the Coral Sea, Battle of Midway, Solomon Islands campaign, Battle of the Philippine Sea, Battle of the Liat Gulf, Battle of Iwo Jima, Battle of Okinawa, Operation Starvation. So while he was also the admiral and like commander-in-chief of the U.S. Pacific Fleet, he was also the commander-in-chief of the Pacific Ocean areas, which meant he commanded Allied air, land, and sea. So this guy was running the whole show pretty much out in the Pacific. He, during his entire tenure in the Navy, he held command of the following: the USS Decatur, a first submarine flotilla, the USS Plunger, the USS Snapper, the USS Narwhal, the 3rd Submarine Division Atlantic Torpedo Fleet, the USS Skipjack, Atlantic Submarine Flotilla, the USS Chicago, the USS Rigel, the USS Augusta, Bureau of Navigation, United States Pacific Fleet, Pacific Ocean Areas, and Chief of Naval Operations. So this guy is legit. And during the Nuremberg trials, he supported what's referred to as unrestricted submarine warfare, which just means that pretty much subs this is just, a very basic, knowledge of it, says that they can attack without warning. They don't have to say, hey, you got to surrender, they just, boom, you can start attacking, which actually ended up getting some German commanders lesser sentences based on the tactics they were using, because he said, we're doing the same thing. While in the service, he lost part of his finger while working on a diesel engine, but the rest of his finger was actually saved because the engine got stuck on his Annapolis ring.
Wow.
I know, like, talk about lucky.
What, that happened in a movie, Abyss?
Was that Abyss?
Yeah, Ed Harris's finger gets saved by his wedding ring
Oh,
that
that's
he
right.
fished
Yeah,
out
yeah.
of the toilet, right?
Oh, yeah, man.
It saves his life too, because doesn't it stop a door from like closing?
Crushing him, yeah.
Oh, shoot, it does. From 1940 to 1941, he was the president of the Army-Navy Country Club in Arlington, Virginia. And October 5th, 1945, was officially named Nimitz Day in Washington because Nimitz signed as the representative of the United States when Japan formally surrendered on the USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay. Nimitz's rank of fleet commander or fleet admiral was also made permanent in the United States Navy on May 13th, 1946, so he had a lifetime appointment. And unfortunately, he suffered a stroke and passed away in 1965.
Oh, it's too bad. If he didn't have that stroke, he'd probably still be alive today.
He could be on the podcast right now.
Right.
130 years old or something like
Something like that. Yeah.
It's possible, right?
I did want to say one thing that I'm seeing kind of on his Wikipedia page. They did name a super carrier after him. There's the USS Nimitz, still in service. Also, Henry Fonda, which we know from Escape from L.A. He portrayed Nimitz in the 1976 film Midway. And then there's a new film, 2019 film named Midway coming out this year, where he will be portrayed by Woody Harrelson.
Really?
Yep.
Oh. Is it a Christopher Nolan film?
That is a Roland Emmerich film.
Ooh, just like 2012.
Just like Independence Day.
2012 almost had subs. Almost.
Independence Day did have subs.
I know.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Comes out November 8th. So
Let's go see it.
Yep.
Okay, that's all I got. Brom.
Count it down, baby. Tube 3 ready to fire, sir.
Commence the countdown.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Give it to me.
So thank you for that, Kyle. We learned just how badass Fleet Admiral Nimitz was. You know who's considerably less badass and less credentialed? Me.
yeah.
And we're wrapping
Say
up
it ain't so.
We're wrapping up my movie month, and these are basically my credentials to this point. This is my top 5 Brom facts.
Oh, I get to learn something about Brom today.
Here we go.
I figured everybody could learn a little bit about me. We've been together for over 80 episodes. Number 5, this is just a really cheap cop-out, but because we watched a president acting here, I wanted to share that my favorite president is Theodore Roosevelt.
Oh, really?
I like Teddy.
Kyle, who's your favorite?
My favorite president.
Yeah. Is it
Dude,
easy?
like good like Teddy, man, because he's such a badass.
Yeah, he is badass.
Completely.
I feel like
insane.
Abraham Lincoln's
Not
sitting
insane,
there for everyone.
but,
Just-
I mean, yeah, Abraham's pretty darn good too.
he's there for the plucking. I mean, the one that growing up that I loved was Taft because he was big and fat.
That's why you liked him.
Yeah. Yep. Why do you like Teddy Roosevelt, Brom?
Well, you got the national parks that
That's a good
came to
one.
be thanks to Teddy. Also, trust busting was important. That he brought some conservative values, but also some progressive values as well, and acknowledged that we need some balance here, and we gotta break them up. So he did some trust busting with some oil companies and big banks and things like that. So helped us fiscally, and then obviously helped preserve our environment a little bit there and acknowledge the beauty of our country. So pretty great guy.
He also got shot while giving a speech.
Wow.
He also had a big old stick, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, he was a rough rider. Yeah. Was he the one that said, speak softly and carry a big stick?
He did.
Yeah.
There you
And
go.
he said, look at this stick. I'm like,
Also, he does have one of my favorite quotes that I do think about quite a bit, especially in the social media age, but it goes, comparison is the thief of joy. So get off social media. There are people that
unless
have more...
you're talking about this podcast.
Yeah, then get on social media.
Get on
Yeah,
social
keep
media
doing it.
and compare whether your friends listen to this podcast or not. If they don't, then inform them
even your
of
friends?
submersion. Exactly. Number 5. That was number 5 there. Number 4. This is a famous by association. Again, I'm not as interesting as Nimitz. Number 4. My best friend from grade school, at least for a year or two before he moved, won the 2013 World Series of Poker and its $8 million grand prize.
Wow.
Dang,
And completely
man.
fell out of touch until I saw him on the World Series of Poker.
And then you were like, dude, you got to pay me.
Nope. Did no such thing. I did wish him luck on social media and one post, but that was it. I'm not going to go gold digging there, but that is Ryan Reese the Beast is what they call him now.
That's pretty cool.
Number 3, my brother won us a private concert with the winner of Season 2 of The Voice, Cassidy Pope, who I strongly admire. She was the lead singer of Hey Monday. Also, Kyle, of course, we're big Icy Stars fan. She did some featured vocals on Electric Forest, which is an excellent song.
Yes,
And
it is.
now she performs country music. But I had a private concert with her for the release of her country album, and that was pretty cool. I'm not a big country music fan, but when you're face to face with someone that talented, literally 2 feet away as she plays on her acoustic guitar, it is pretty darn neat.
You couldn't just talk mad trash right to her.
I
Big
couldn't,
hey.
and I wouldn't. I did get.
Big,
I
hey,
did,
why don't you do some of the other older stuff? She's like, Brom, this is what I do now.
Number 2, Jamie, you actually mentioned something similar to this when we were talking about our movie months, and I think you even mentioned if there's a fun fact that I was going to be coming out with, fun fact list, and you mentioned that you have an acting credit on IMDb.
I do. You can look up my name on IMDb, except you don't know my last name, probably. And
We'll post it in the description.
try not to do that. And doesn't really matter. But but it's an incorrect credit because my brother is in film and they mistakenly put me as a credit on one of the shows that he did.
Hey, take credit where credit is due, and I think you are due
guess,
some
yeah.
credit for being the brother of someone that works on film.
Miscellaneous crew, what up?
But I actually do have an acting credit on IMDb. I acted in a film in college. It was a very small indie film called Be Dead. I played
Dead. B-E. Dead.
B-E-E, Dead. It was about bees that transmitted a zombie virus.
Oh, I'm seeing it here. Okay. Got it.
I played Chad, the douchebag frat boy, which anybody that knows me knows that is me
seeing
to
it
a
right
T.
here. I see you right
I didn't even
there.
have to act.
He's an actor known for Be Dead. That's what it says.
There
Braun
we go.
is an actor known for Be Dead in 2011.
It says that?
It says that.
That's pretty cool.
Description right there under
I
your
did
name.
not contribute any of that information. I just found that I was on
What
IMDb.
the hell? How did I not know you were even in this, Brom?
I'm sorry. I actually have a pretty meaty role, and I'm pretty proud of.
Your
few of
name
my-
is on the
it's-
poster. Yeah, I'm looking at the poster. Your name's on it.
I did it. I kind of ad-libbed some of my lines. It was difficult for me. I'd never done anything like this, but I had some fun with it. And there's an actual scene where I turn into the zombie, and I think I did a really good job with that.
Is this available anywhere? It's an hour and a half movie, Brom.
It is a real movie, and I am truly in it, and it is not great.
Hey.
But I'm in there. I'm in there. I don't know. I haven't checked on it.
Guys, this would be perfect for animal season.
B movies.
No, it's just one of the animals because we have 15 of them.
Okay.
Bees are one of them.
I'm in there. Cheesy D horror movie. If you want to see me, Be Dead. Number one. This is a very fun fact. Actually, I like to use this for any like 2 trues, 1 false for team building and meeting people and shit like that. Number 1, I rode the Pirates of the Caribbean ride in Disneyland. Is that California? Or is it Disney World?
That's Disney.
The California one, Disneyland. I rode the Pirates of the Caribbean out there with Hugh Hefner and the Playboy Bunnies.
So, okay.
What?
So you were on the ride. It was you.
I'm on the ride. Yeah.
Sitting next to Hugh Hefner.
I am sitting directly behind the silken-clad Hugh Hefner with his arm draped around Playboy Bunnies, and I've got Playboy Bunnies in front of me and behind me.
And next to you.
And there I am as a, 10-year-old kid.
Did you win? This is also something that you won a prize on? Or what?
I won what? No, I did not win any prize. I guess this is actually pretty common. I have actually heard similar stories just in talking about this of people that have said they've seen him there. It is a very. He's obviously passed away to this point now, but it was a very popular spot to take the girls. Just when you've got all that money and all that time, he tended to go to Disneyland a lot. So I rode that with him, and then he actually skipped in front of me in line while we were doing the Haunted Mansion.
Did you call him out?
You don't take that, bro.
No, I didn't call him out.
Hey, Hugh, get the hell back there.
Who do you think you are? He said, right?
Very good, very good.
Not.
Thank you.
You went there, and you nailed it.
Thank you.
That was my top 5 Brom fun facts.
Brom, I have known you for years. And
Did you know any of that?
Like 10 years. I didn't know you were in a movie.
I'm pretty surprised by that.
If you were in a movie today,
never talked about it.
If you were in a movie today, I'd be really disappointed if part of your improv was not getting a submarine in that movie.
Like, hold on, I got a pretty good idea, guys. Let's just throw this in here. They're like, dude, you're just an extra. Why? What are you doing?
The bees, they come from a submarine that lands on shore, and they're like, you're just an extra, but that's a really good idea.
Yeah. Is this movie available anywhere?
I don't know.
I'm looking for it. I'm looking for it right now.
My
I'm
DVD copy
searching.
doesn't even work anymore. I don't know what the hell happened to it. Yeah, it's out there. We'll find it. It was on YouTube for a while. I think they took it down.
Why? Wait, why did they take it down?
I don't. Well, the owners of the movie took it down. I think for something like that, it was like officially licensed and all that. I think they had to pay to keep it up or something like that.
Wait, you don't own the movie?
I do not own the movie. I was not the film director or creator or anything like that. But I mean, again, it's a real movie. Might be able to find it out there. I don't know.
So I'm seeing a trailer for it. I'm seeing a teaser for it.
I think I am in the trailer.
I believe
I should be.
I believe I'm looking at you right now on the picture.
It's probably me in the window.
Yes, that's
when
the
they
teaser trailer.
Yeah, they escape me, and you see me bashing on the window.
Yep, that's what I'm looking at.
There you go.
But I don't see anything of the full movie.
I don't know.
And I'm going to be honest with you. The trailers,
see it?
Not a lot of views.
I'm sorry, Jamie.
What the heck?
Not my problem.
Dude, he got paid. It doesn't matter.
Thanks for listening to Submersion. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Don't forget to subscribe for new episodes every Thursday. If you like what you heard, please leave us a rating on iTunes.